Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we bring you the latest news and updates from around the world. I'm your host, Barbara, and I'm glad you're joining us today. We have a lot to cover, so let's dive right in. Our top story today is about the ongoing controversy surrounding the Trump administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act to deport migrants to El Salvador. The ACLU has filed an emergency court filing, urging the Supreme Court to block the administration from sending more migrants to El Salvador's notorious prison system, which has been linked to torture, extrajudicial killings, and other human rights abuses. According to reports, 238 men were sent to El Salvador last month without due process, with the government citing dubious claims that they had ties to gangs deemed terrorist organizations. A recent report by CBS 60 Minutes found that 75% of the deported Venezuelans had no apparent criminal record. The Supreme Court has ruled that the administration can continue deporting migrants under the Alien Enemies Act, but only if they receive notice and are given the opportunity to challenge their removal through habeas petitions. However, the ACLU argues that the government's lightning-fast timeline does not give migrants a realistic opportunity to contest their removal, and that some notices were given in English only, without informing migrants of their right to contest the designation in federal court. This issue has sparked a heated debate about the balance between national security and human rights. On one hand, the administration argues that it needs to take tough measures to protect the country from potential threats. On the other hand, critics argue that deporting people without due process and sending them to prisons with questionable human rights records is a violation of their fundamental rights. We'll continue to follow this story and provide updates as more information becomes available. In the meantime, we want to hear from you. What do you think about the use of the Alien Enemies Act to deport migrants? Do you think it's a necessary measure to protect national security? Or do you think it's a violation of human rights? Share your thoughts with us on social media using the hashtag Barbara's Bulletin. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're glad you're still with us as we dive into our middle segment. Today, we're discussing a heartbreaking and thought-provoking story that highlights the harsh reality of gun violence in America. Recently, a devastating shooting occurred at Florida State University, leaving 2 people dead and 6 others injured. What's even more astonishing is that some of the students who witnessed this tragedy had also lived through the Parkland School massacre in 2018. Yes, you heard that right. They've experienced not 1, but 2 school shootings in their lifetime. One of these students, Horowitz, a 22-year-old graduate student, described the eerie silence and abandoned belongings on campus, saying it was all too familiar. She poignantly stated, "You never think it's going to happen to you the first time. You certainly never think it's going to happen to you twice. This is America." As we explore this story, it's essential to acknowledge the emotional toll that repeated exposure to gun violence can have on individuals. Jacqueline Schildkraut, a leading researcher on gun violence, notes that experiencing multiple school shootings can prolong a person's emotional healing process, essentially sending them back to square one. We must also consider the broader implications of this issue. The fact that some students have had to endure not 1, but 2 school shootings raises important questions about the effectiveness of current measures to prevent such tragedies. It's crucial that we engage in constructive dialogue and explore evidence-based solutions to address the root causes of gun violence. As we continue to grapple with this complex issue, it's essential to approach the conversation with empathy and understanding. We must listen to the stories of those affected and work together to create a safer, more compassionate society. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're wrapping up today's show with a look at the latest developments in the world of politics. The Supreme Court has issued an order temporarily blocking the deportations of more Venezuelans under the Alien Enemies Act. This comes after the American Civil Liberties Union warned that immigration authorities were moving to quickly restart removals despite previous restrictions on how the act can be used. The ACLU had asked the Supreme Court for an emergency injunction and stay of removal, arguing that migrants being subjected to the Alien Enemies Act were not being given sufficient notice or time to contest their removal. The court's order directs the government not to remove any members of the affected group until further notice. This development is a significant one, as it highlights the ongoing debate over immigration policy and the use of the Alien Enemies Act. While the Trump administration has argued that the act is necessary for national security, critics have raised concerns about its impact on due process and human rights. In related news, President Trump has been pushing to remove Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, citing disagreements over monetary policy. This move has sparked concern among economists and lawmakers who warn that it could undermine the independence of the Fed and destabilize the economy. As we delve into these complex issues, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and evaluate the evidence. The use of the Alien Enemies Act raises important questions about the balance between national security and individual rights, while the debate over monetary policy highlights the challenges of managing a complex economy. Ultimately, these are issues that require careful consideration and nuanced discussion. As we navigate the complexities of politics and policy, it's crucial to remain informed, engaged, and open-minded. That's all for today's Barber's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay engaged.